Hi guys, welcome back to the Improvement Season podcast. It is me, Steve Hall, and on the other end, cracking over a bevy. That's an Australian thing, right? Bevy is Pascal
Sounds
Steve.
like it. I have no idea, but sounds about right.
I know Mikey Zertel is fond of British slang, but some of the Aussie slang I love. Like, I'm just like, oh, it's brilliant.
Mate,
like
Australian,
what is it? A carpenter's a chippy, I learnt the other day.
Australians, you can't even be mad about them. Whenever something is happening, it just sounds, I don't know, let me give you a hug. It's just amazing. I don't know. Also, someone like Margot Robbie, mate, just her accent makes her even more beautiful, to be honest.
Yeah, there's some Aussie accents. I think it's like every accent. There's some accents I like. Same with German. Like some German accents I quite like, and then others I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like, feels like someone's, I don't know, going to do something bad to me when I hear that accent.
That's for sure. I mean, there are certain parts of Germany, such as Saxony, for example. It is very bad when it comes to the accent there. Well, it's more like a dialect, you know. And then also when it comes to, that's just my personal opinion, Austrian German, it's something that, and also from Switzerland, those people who are then speaking German, I don't find attractive. But of course, this is just my personal opinion. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know where I was going with this. Yeah, talking about Aussies. You have a bevy. Is it the peach monster again? Is that what we're cracking open? What
Do you want to
is
guess?
It looked pink. So is it like a, don't know what flavor that is. Oh, is it watermelon? Green. Is it the apple? Oh, it's the one. It's kind of the original. They kind of redid that one, right?
Yeah. And it was just like on offer on the supermarket, or just around the supermarket where I'm always getting my stuff. And I was just fancying it. So I got myself one.
Since I saw you have the peach one, I did go and buy some. And I do enjoy it. It very may well be in my top 5, to be honest.
Oh, really?
I rated it, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's also the
and
same
it tastes
as
peachy.
Yeah, and same as watermelon. It's not too sweet. Sometimes it is. I couldn't really bring myself to drink something like this in the morning. I can't see myself ever getting like a monster. Or whenever I do, whenever I'm traveling and having like a monster or an energy drink in the morning, it never really tastes as good as it is during the day, in my personal opinion.
I always get into a habit. It's a prep thing for me. Is I have one of my first drinks in the day is an energy drink. It does a few things. I think, one, it delays my breakfast by a solid hour or more. And 2, it gets that caffeine, a good hit of caffeine in early. And then, so if I have it later in the day, obviously there's more, like it's going to be hanging around later because of the half-life and everything. So
yeah, this is also my last caffeinated beverage, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it is right now 11 in the morning for me.
Yeah, so it becomes a prep habit, and then it hangs around for quite a while during my off season, and then it dissipates to where I start having coffees again.
And how are things, by the way, on your front? Because you said something, you mentioned something right before we went into the recording, that something happened, and guys, I don't know what happened, so it could very well be
major.
that, I don't know.
It was just you were
crashing
saying
down now.
Oh, no, not at all. So it was like you were just saying that maybe I'm not as hot because of prep, but I don't think I've really seen that sort of adaptation. I think it's just cooler. But that might change this week, because this has probably been the most aggressive change Cliff has made, especially in a while. So my weight has been pretty stagnant, almost a month. It has slowly been creeping down if you look at the averages. But in terms of Monday weigh-ins, which Cliff takes, it's been kind of stagnant.
Rate of loss are we talking about?
Oh, fucking really slow.
Okay.
Like, it's been creeping down. But, ever since I said, I think it was, maybe it's 3 weeks ago, I said I, changed my frozen vegetables and I got some, gastric distress. I ended up having some diarrhea and stuff. But ever since that episode, my stomach has not been the same. It's been a bit bloated and I've been a bit bunged up. Not properly bunged up. I haven't actually been constipated. But when you can just feel like there's something more to go, but it's just Steve, not moving.
It sounds so much like the position that I was in a couple of weeks before you. And I even said to you, like, I don't understand. It lingers around for a long time. Is it also then diet related? And for me, it has gotten better. So hopefully it happens then for you as well. And it just takes a while, maybe. Also because you are now in a much more vulnerable position. We know that the digestive tract really slows down when you are deep in prep, deep in a cutting phase. It could just very well be that you are just much more in a vulnerable position and have a harder time getting rid of things like these.
Yeah. And then I got next week, I got the stomach bug where it was like I was very bloated and like quite bunged up, and I had high levels of fatigue. So thankfully all the fatigue is, like, touch wood, it's gone. Like I feel back to just normal levels of fatigue that you should experience in a prep. But the bloating has still been there to the point of which, like, it'll be like painful. Like moving around will be painful. If I'm sat here, I wouldn't notice it. But if I like get up, I'll get like a stabbing pain, and my stomach will just feel like it's like out here type of thing, which is super uncomfortable. It's not at the point where I think it's something like serious. I don't know. I forget what it's called when something explodes, or like you have to have, what's the common thing people get rid of? I've forgotten what it is. There's like surgery.
I don't know on English, to be honest.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I forgot. Someone will be like crying out what it is, where people often get this thing removed.
I know it on German. It's kind of Blinddarm. So I can't recall what it is on English. I've probably
it's really annoying me that I've completely forgotten. I'm going to blame prep brain, where I'm just not as cognitively functioning as well as
that's the beautiful thing about diets, right? Whenever something isn't really going according to plan, or you can't think of anything, you can just always blame it on prep brain and be like, I'm not stupid.
So that's super annoying that I can't remember what it is, but I'm not concerned it's that, because it is like sometimes it's not as bad and other times it's worse, but it's still lingering. Like this morning I thought it dissipated a lot, but if I push into my stomach, I'm like, oh, that hurts. Like I can tell there's a bit still there. And the unfortunate thing is when it's your stomach, when I say bloating, it's like gas that's there. It's not like I'm bloated from like water retention, sodium and stuff like this. It's clearly kind of gas related in that sense. So yeah, that's still hanging around.
The appendix.
Appendix, yes, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, a lot of people get their appendix out. So yeah, I don't think it's anything like that. And I think it is just like you said, it's going to be a time thing. But given my weight, it did come down this past week, like Monday to Monday, but not by much. I was 177.6, I think it was, which is like 80 kilos or so or something. So I think we're due to come below 80 kilos. And I've had some more lower weigh-ins, like this morning's weigh-in was below that, but I haven't weighed lower than 176 pounds. That still hasn't happened. And so basically the change Cliff made, to summarize this, I haven't had that kind of cold adaptation yet, but this week I might start feeling more of those things. Cliff was like, we're probably going to do this for 2 weeks. He was like, I know this is pretty aggressive. Okay. So I don't know what my numbers come down to, like calorie wise.
So you haven't had the adjustment yet?
No, I've had the adjustment. Cliff gives me macros. I haven't calculated. I think it's like a 200 calorie drop on low days, and then he's removed one refeed completely and dropped my refeed calorie days as well. So I think globally it will be like a 300, 400 calorie drop, something like that.
Yeah.
Which is pretty significant when you're as lean as I am now. But also, it's not like the part of me didn't want it to happen, of course, because the survival type of like just part of me was like, hey, I'm a bit more comfortable not having to drop those. But a big part of me was like, I think this is exactly what we needed, because the scale's not moving. And then I think I visibly am looking better and better, but not enough at this point. And I want to do everything I can to get into the condition required. So if Cliff thinks this needs to happen, I'm actually quite relieved that we're making quite an aggressive push. I just know that training is going to get tough, and it's going to get tougher, but I'm just trying to be as normal as possible about things, and not, when people are like, oh, I'm starting a diet, my strength is going to go really to shit and hunger is going to be super high. I'm trying to avoid presuming anything's going to go like that, and just be like, let's see if I can just hold on to the same as what I was before. So
I'm always thinking the only thing that you can do are the things that are then happening in the present moment. Because otherwise, what is it that you're afraid of? Right? That something may occur that hasn't occurred yet. I think that's a foolish way of going about things, especially when it comes to training and nutrition.
It's almost making it doubly worse when you're worried about a thing that might or might not happen. So the worrying time has already made it worse. And then if it does happen, it's now doubly as worse because you worried about it and now it happened. Yeah. But if it doesn't happen, then you worried about something for nothing. So it's just like, try not to worry. It's easier said than done, but it's like you said, like try and just be like, take it when it comes. But before that,
and some things are just part of the process. It's kind of the same of being afraid of them being hungry at some point during a cutting phase. It's going to happen no matter what. Yeah. The only thing that you can do is hopefully try your very best to push it back as long as you can. At the same time, not make the hunger much worse than it actually then is. And then secondarily, also realize that even in a gaining phase, you may experience hunger and all that kind of stuff, right? So I think acknowledging that certain things are just part of the process makes it much easier to begin with, in my personal opinion, instead of trying and desperately to avoid certain things from happening. It's the same when it comes to also performance loss in the gym. It's, in my personal opinion, it's not really performance loss. It is more like an adaptation or kind of adjustment due to the loss of a body weight overall. And if you're really seeing a dip in performance, which very rarely happens, like a substantial dip in performance, where then on a consecutive basis, set per set basis, session to session basis, your performance is declining very rapidly, of going from, 15 repetitions down to 7 repetitions. And then all of a sudden you can't even do the 1 repetition anymore. This never really happens. And if you do, something is already off to begin with.
Yeah, it's kind of similar with hunger. Normally it just slowly creeps up and develops. It's the same with performance loss. It might just be on a movement here or there. And like you said, it's within reason. It's like in the context of getting down to single digit body fat, I think to see some of that is completely within reason. The times of which I'm worried about it is when I see people being like, your performance is completely trash. They lose like 50% of their strength when they get down to like single digit body fat. And I'm like, that's kind of a sign maybe you haven't done the process as effectively as you could. You dieted too aggressively, or typically that's what it is, you know.
But that very, very rarely happens. Like very
under good
rarely.
coaching, it should not happen at all.
So, if I'm trying to recall whenever I've experienced it with one of my athletes, and I can't even recall. Maybe it happened such a long time ago that I can't even recall it, or it never really happened.
Yeah, because that is worrisome when that happens, because it, to me, is like big signs of muscle loss. But if you're just seeing slight drops, I always refer back to the Wilks score from powerlifting, like strength to body weight ratio. That's actually probably improved. For me right now, it's definitely improved, like quite substantially actually. And on some things it might start like maintaining, but I doubt it actually will drop. So in that regard, it's not a performance drop actually. It's just a like consequence of being lighter and smaller and all of those sort of things. So yeah, that's one thing. But my main concerns right now is exactly as you said. I think 1, the calorie drop is going to help bring in that gnarly skinless condition that I'm after. And 2, actually the calorie drop might help with the bloating because it's just less food going through. So my fiber, I was already going to bring down my fiber by removing some things that can be troublesome for this gut, like broccoli and cauliflower. There's stuff I had in before I had problems, but maybe it's just, I don't know, maybe I just need to reset things a little bit. So I've removed those, and my fibers come down by like 10 grams. So I'm probably going to sit around 30, 35 grams of fiber or something. So hopefully that will help, because I don't think it's too little fiber, which it can be for some people, because I'm not having too little fiber, I tell you that. Like when you're dieting at this point, most foods are pretty high in fiber. So yeah, I'm interested to see how it goes over the next days. Cliff actually wanted me to check in on Friday with him. Normally we just check in once a week, but he was like, check in on Friday to let me know if the bloating hasn't dissipated or not, because he might suggest something a bit more than that. But they're the main things I'm doing.
I think, though, that you're doing the right intuitive thing here, once again, also with the fiber intake, because I did the same thing there. I dropped things such as carrots, I dropped things such as onions. I knew that I could still eat something like cucumber, for example, because it's a little bit easier to digest. And that's what I then did. And I think that going about it in a more rational and sensible manner is just the way to go in general.
Yeah, I don't think I had hoped that because the diet, it didn't seem diet related or a particular food related. It seemed like it was a stomach bug that I thought just getting back to my normal diet, it would just dissipate. But after a week, it hasn't. So I'm like, hey, I need to make some more formal adjustments and changes, and hopefully that will nudge it in the right direction. So I just have to continue to see, because some levels of bloating, like I said, the pain and distension, I wouldn't be able to do like anything axial loaded because I just wouldn't be able to brace. So again, that would be fucking annoying. And I can see it in my physique. So it wasn't so bad this week, but Cliff said he could see it. And it really kills my waistline, of course, which is something that I don't have any space to lose. So like my front relaxed, I need that waist looking as small as physically possible.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But yeah, that's my update. I don't think that's the only thing I wanted to say is I've had quite a significant drop. And so there should be some significant changes happening in my physique over the next couple of weeks, which I'm excited for.
Yeah.
And
You're digging into new territories, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's where we're going from here. Because I've definitely been as lean as this. I haven't been as big and as lean as this, that's for sure. It looks like maybe I've gained 5 pounds of muscle. That would be like on the, like, not conservative, but not like, what's it called? I'm not being conservative with that, but I'm not being overzealous either. I think that's a reasonable assessment of maybe 5 pounds since last time. Maybe I'm being a bit over the top with 5 pounds, but that'd be amazing anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That would be a lot. I think that your potential of gaining muscle mass is actually quite good. It's just the structure, as talked about so often in the past. Yeah,
for sure. I have a good frame for putting on muscle tissue. It's just not shaped very well.
Yeah, it is funny, Steve, and I don't really want to talk about it too much, but yesterday you've posted, I think, a physique update over on Instagram, or it could be that it was on Sunday, and right underneath it was Dirk with his physique update. And the difference, once again, was so drastic to see how much shape alters then the appearance of someone. Because, yes, Dirk is definitely also very muscular overall. And I can't really say whether he carries more muscle mass than you do, Steve. I don't know. I've never seen you guys kind of
we posed side by side.
Oh, yeah.
We did in 2021.
True. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he's 5'4". Yeah. So like I've got more, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say I've got more muscle on my frame because he's just smaller. So he's not going to be able to carry as much muscle.
True.
So it's just going to go that way. But I'm at the, like for my height class, I would say I'm one of the like heavier individuals in general. So, but it's not I said, who did I say this to recently? I said it is like no one's looking at how much muscle have you got on your fat-free mass index on stage just doesn't matter.
No, unless you are enhanced and you're just that humongous freak. But even then, shape does count and matter. But of course, I mean, I think that especially in the 90s, when the mass monsters came to fruition, it was just something that was just shocking and out of this world. And completely transformed and reshaped kind of bodybuilding.
But you're right, because it's similar to my client just competed this weekend, Haj, and he is very good shape. But I think it's like I said to you, he's similar height to us, because you're like, oh man, the competition's so tough, like for Haj to have not placed in the top 3, because he's very good, like he's very shapely, but he hasn't got as much. Like next to me, I don't know like how we'd fare like against, I hate to say it, against one another, but I've got more muscle mass than him, but he's got really nice shape and lines. So it's like,
that's what I was referring to when I actually commented on your post, the story post of your client. I was just saying, like, same as you pointed out, that the competition in Europe is just out of this world because of his shape, because also of his conditioning. Based on the picture that I've seen, it was looking very, very aesthetically pleasing, like honestly. And if you then were to compare, then it's something that we've discussed last week in the episode, Improvement Season podcast episode, the difference between other countries, especially in comparison to the US. It's crazy that he then didn't place.
Yeah, at a kind of a qualifier in some way. Like it's not, it's crazy. I look at that. We've mentioned it with the BMBF qualifiers recently. I look at them and I'm just like, God, the competition there is just absolutely wild. And that's the more you compete, the more you realize it's all about who turns up on the day. Yeah. It's like I went to Worlds and came second, but in the UK I came fourth. So how did that happen? It's because actually the competition in the UK was more competitive than at Worlds that year. But that's the reality of it. So yeah, it's just so out of your hands. But yeah, we'll see if I can get this bloating under control. I think my front relax is the best it's ever looked. I think I'm holding, the thing is, to go pro, you have to have as few holes in your physique as possible. To be a very good pro, you need like no holes basically in your physique, which Dirk, I can't, like, he doesn't have a weakness on his physique. Whereas I think I still think I've got enough of, like, I think I could, depending on the lineup, my front relax isn't so weak and such a kind of deficit in my physique that it would hold me back to the extent it would never be able to place me where I need to place, or like winning, because I think I make up for it in other areas.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we'll see.
That is exactly what I just wanted to say. We'll have to see. There's nothing else we can do, or you can do rather. I'm just standing here.
It's one of those, it's funny, I think about it. You could probably take some, I don't know what's more informative, like if you had someone's stage weight and their height, is that more informative than someone's like waist to clavicle ratio? Like your shoulder to waist ratio is like kind of your shape sort of indicator. And then your height to weight ratio is how much muscle mass have you got on that frame.
That's true.
I'm not sure which one's more indicative, but I can sometimes tell just from, I had a consultation with someone. He was saying he wanted to compete next year, and he told me his height. I had seen some photos of his body weight, and he was like he had a certain level of competitiveness he wanted to be in his head. And I was like, at that height, you're going to be, and look at your kind of body here at this weight, you're going to struggle to place, because in reality, he was going to be, he'd be like a lightweight, but he would be a tall competitor. And so he's going to be against lightweights. Either if it's a weight category, he's going to be by far the tallest in a lightweight category, so he's not going to be very competitive there. But if he's in a tall category, he's going to be by far the lightest. It's just like, you don't want that combination of effect, and shape can only take you so far. So it's kind of like with me, I've kind of not maxed out, but I'm closer to one of the heavier competitors in my height class, or taller competitors. Is that right? Or heavier competitors in my height class, and then I'm near the top end of my height class, weight class anyway. And then, so that's kind of your muscle mass and condition ticked off, but then it's the shape element is the other side of the equation that you can't control. You can't control either, really, but anyway.
And this is why I'm always referring back to, first and foremost, you need to enjoy the journey. And I know how cheesy that sounds, and sometimes it's not even satisfying for the vast majority of people. I can also absolutely get that, but in the end, it's natural bodybuilding. Right? That's the way that I see it.
Yeah, I think if I won a show but hated the whole process, that'd be terrible. I prefer to love the process and not place. Like that'd be so much better. So yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know, getting the promotion at work for a job you hate, or not getting a promotion at a job that you love. It's like, well, I choose the one I love, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a great comparison, actually.
So yeah, we'll see how things go. Like you said, it's new territory now, and I'm excited for that. Actually, the thing I also realized I hate shaving, like the body hair, removing the body hair. It's a pain in the butt.
Not only this, Steve, but also if you're not doing this regularly, so for example, with my legs and the hair, the only time that I shaved the legs was 2021 for the show, and it was at the end of October. And all of a sudden, you are freezing your balls off. It feels so
Makes
odd.
a big difference.
It does. And also, when I went to bed, it felt so weird that I had a hard time falling asleep because it felt just so different. So different.
It does feel different, yeah.
Right?
I was reminded of that. Like, you kind of stick to things more.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like, it's one, because the skin is like a bit, I guess, sticky, so you don't have the material in between to like float across. But two, because the hair's then spiky, it kind of like sticks to stuff. But I've been shaving my forearms for ages now because I do that to be able to show off the tattoos a bit more clearly. And I do shave Levi as well. So I shave that like one patch. Those areas just feel normal to me now. So I think as I do this more and more, it'll start feeling normal.
Yeah.
The one area I will say I like being shaved is, and I haven't perfectly done it, but having less underarm hair, I like. Like, I don't like having a big bush.
I've always done it, Steve, and I was always kind of surprised whenever you didn't do that.
Oh, really? I trim them, but I never removed the hair there. It's just, I don't know, not as much a thing for guys to remove their underarm hair. Like,
right? I've done it since I was a teenager.
Really? No, nothing.
Because
at least in the UK, it's not a...
Okay, because I personally, and this is also once again just my personal opinion, I find it rather disgusting if someone has a big bush underneath their armpit and then you see the sweat pearls dropping off of it. Ugh,
you have to really be
so
paying
disgusting
attention to see that.
Yeah, but that is so disgusting. So, yeah.
That's funny. Maybe that's a German to UK difference because... Yeah, there'd be no one like at school, high school, doing that at all. And like, I don't know, of my friends, it's not something that any of us were doing. But since competing, I found I liked having less, so I would trim it at least. Interesting. Yeah, I don't like though getting it, like when you use a sharp like a close shave razor under your armpit. No. But just using a trimmer is not so bad.
Exactly. Like the same as for the ball sack, for example.
Yeah, I mean, I would not use a close shave on that.
Yeah, exactly. You've probably heard of it because it's kind of the same as AGI1. They sponsored so many podcasts at some point. What was it called again? Manscaped.
The
razor just for the ball sack. So
they got in touch with us to sponsor actually a while ago.
Oh, really? They did?
They didn't offer. It was ages ago. They were basically just offering to give the product and nothing else. And I was like,
I would have loved to actually test out the product because it is really painful if you're then kind of, when you're getting older, your ball sack is getting looser and the skin and all that kind of stuff, and sometimes it really snaps in between kind of the what is it? Kind of the sticks.
Wrinkle?
Of those kind of razor blades, and then it's kind of in between it and it's painful. It's painful.
Yeah, I've not done that.
Every guy who has experience with that knows what I'm talking about, and it's not pleasant.
I'm careful enough to just hover.
Yeah.
So I don't.
That's the way to go. That's the way to go. Or Manscaped. I don't know.
I have actually considered buying their stuff, but I do use literally, I think, what's his name? Chris Williamson on the Modern Wisdom podcast talks about, are you still using that old shaver that you use for your face to like trim your balls, blah, blah, blah. You should really upgrade to this. I'm like, nah, I'm still using that old razor. It does what I need it to do.
Yeah, it does its job well, so why not,
But then, I'm always surprised by how much hair there is, just like over my arms and stuff. I'm like, do I have to really shave all of this? I'm like, it does. You just basically want to get off anything that you can that could like hide any sort of detail in that sense. So
that's true.
I haven't really shaved those areas yet, and there's some areas on the back of my like legs I haven't really got to properly. I have to get Charlotte to help me.
It is so. This is something that some people do forget to shave the lower back part, so right over your basically the start of your crunch of the butthole. If you don't remove the hair there, then the pearls of the tan can actually be sticky and blotchy then. And that doesn't look good at all. And some people do forget about this part here simply because they don't see it.
I think it's one of the, if you don't have someone to help you do it, then I don't know how you get to those areas. Like for my back, I can't shave it unless Charlotte does it. Like I guess if you use some sort of product that like a foam gel that like then will disintegrate the hairs,
Yeah.
but that's still hard to apply to your back.
Yeah.
I never really like using that Veet or anything like that. It upsets my skin a lot.
But
Actually,
if you get a
shaving
spray
upsets my
tan, then
skin
you
a bit,
really
but-
want to have all of the hairs removed, because otherwise it just attaches to the hair instead of in the skin, and it just doesn't really look right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that time where I'm going to have to start thinking about exfoliating and all of that shit as well. So it's getting into that territory, although it's nice. I'm glad I delayed it to this point, because I think doing it earlier is just a complete pain than doing it like within the last month or whatever. And it's nice to do it at this point too, because you do see, especially in the legs, just more detail. My calves, like I'm like, man, they're vascular, and damn, my calves have grown. Like seeing them without the hair and seeing them lean, they're the biggest they've ever been for sure.
Oh, that's great to hear. So it really pays off that you've put much more attention to them.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely helps make my physique a bit more complete. They're not so like glaringly, not that they were like really obviously small, but now it's like, like there's actually some size there, because I have big ankles and everything. So to know that, hey, actually there's some muscle mass there, it just fills any kind of gap again, which is nice.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's take a short break. I will just bring down my table again and then be back with a little bit more Improvement Season podcast. Do you not see the progress you would like? Are you sick of writing your own programs? Or perhaps you need some accountability in order to stick with a plan? Then it's time to start working with us. We at Revive Stronger offer a truly personalized coaching service. You'll get more than just an email with some macros or random cookie cutter program. With Revive Stronger, you will be the center of our attention. You will receive your own fully individualized training protocol alongside a customized nutritional strategy. We create the coaching around your needs, wants, personal preferences, and your own unique lifestyle. Every single week, we delve into your program in order to make appropriate adjustments so that we get the most out of your time and the best possible outcome. We help both female and male athletes to seriously change their body composition by adding more muscle mass and decreasing fat tissue. Additionally, you get access to our exclusive Revive Stronger member site, where you'll be able to watch over hundreds of hours worth of educational content. No matter if you're a competitive bodybuilder or just want to look better, if you need help with your progress and taking your physique to the next level, our coaching is for you. It's time to make a change. Sign up today and let's revive stronger.
I have still, man, I have this standing desk, and I think I bought it partly because in my 2021 prep, I wanted to be standing with the weighted vest on all the time. I never use this as a standing desk. I always sit at it.
To be fair, I hardly ever use it as a standing desk either. But sometimes I just notice that I was sitting for a long time, and then it's just nice to get up and stand for a little while. But it's not that I'm setting the alarm so that for half an hour I'm standing and then the next hour I'm sitting again. Also there, right? It's a level of overthinking that doesn't really need to be in place.
Yeah. I find because I'm like, I walk 8 in the morning, and then I come back to my desk, I do a number of hours of work, then I walk to the gym, I do like a number of hours of work, then I walk 8 again, I do some work, and then I walk 8 again. So because I have so many splits, like I'm very rarely at my desk then more than like, I can't imagine even being sat here for 4 hours without getting up. That just wouldn't happen. It doesn't happen. It's like 3 hours or something at most.
When I find myself sitting more than an hour, for example, I like to get up like at least for just maybe even just walking downstairs and then coming up again, so that my old crippled body gets a little bit of a break.
I'm normally up to pee. Actually, that's something that's changed. I was doing really well holding on to like one time a night peeing. It's increased to 2 pretty much all the time. And sometimes I have a third where I'm like, no, it's so close to the time I want to get up anyway. It's maybe half an hour before I want to get up. And I'm like battling, should I just get up and pee?
Oh man,
or should I pee and then go back to bed? And I'm just like, it's the worst. Why does this third pee kick in?
That is the worst, to actually get up or awake too close to your normal wake time. And then you have that inner fight, and most of the time I'm just getting up.
Yeah. Especially because for me, you know, our bedroom's on the top floor, so I have to walk down steps. every single time. And it's just like, that's a bit more wakeful than just like, I don't know, if you have an ensuite, perfect, just roll out of bed, pee. But I have to really like get up to go pee and then walk back up the stairs. And I'm like, man, I'm up anyway very shortly. So the good news is after my refeed, I only had 1 pee in the night. So the refeed definitely helped with the sleep and holding on to things. I just have to be a bit more conscious of not drinking like within the last 3 hours before bed, basically. I get enough fluids through. I basically have a salad and then my Ninja Creamy. And both of those things are quite fluid full anyway. So it's like, I don't need to drink on top of that. Even, and I think that also help with the bloating, not drinking whilst I eat, which is something I like to do, especially when I'm dieting, because it fills you up.
Yeah.
But it can lead to just extra. I know it can upset the stomach more, so I'm going to try and avoid doing that as much.
But I think that you're also very much on top of it, the same as I am, that you're drinking the vast majority of your liquids the first half of the day and then it's tapering down, right?
Yeah, for sure. I pee so much in the morning where it's just like, because I'm drinking so much, particularly because I have this makes it really easy to get in a lot of fluid early, the energy drink, because you get 500 mils just through that. And then I normally do a whole liter as well quite easily. So yeah, it comes in real easy. And then I do the intra workout, which is another like 600 milliliters or something during the session. So
yeah, for me, it's also first half of the day, lots of liquids. And then second half of the day, it's very much tapered down. And then I have the last form of liquids for then dinner, which is four hours before bedtime. And I don't need more because I had plenty throughout the day already. And I'm still getting up in the middle of the night for like 1 pee.
Well, I think 1 is very normal for people, to be fair. Like off season, wherever you are, 1 time a night, totally normal.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can't hear the drilling in the background. Maybe you can.
No, I can't.
Oh, good.
Everything's good. They are
haven't
still
had
doing
any crazy
construction
building
work.
They are, but they haven't done any like crazy noisy stuff lately, which is really appreciated, because it was, I mean, I don't know if you actually ever heard it in the end, but it was horrendous. So loud. Hopefully that doesn't happen again.
I'm very sensitive to noise anyway, and my neighbors, I think it's already 2 years ago, they've renovated their kitchen, and it was like for 1 or 2 weeks just like massive drilling into the wall that is behind me, and that wasn't fun.
There's nothing you can really do about it either, because it's like it's an adjoining wall. Like, what can you do? How's your diet going? I know you posted up some physique shots recently.
Sir,
looking pretty damn lean.
yeah, sitting at around, so here in the morning, I weigh myself once again. And same as you, I've talked about it last week, my weight is a little bit stagnant, a little bit sticky right now, 73.5, which is not bad at all. I feel good. I think that I look good. And I'm getting though to the point where I'm now starting to just not wanting to diet anymore. It's slowly getting there. I set myself like the deadline of Katie's birthday as an ending point. This is something that I had in mind already right before I've started the diet, that this is maximally the up until this point that I'm dieting. Everything longer than this doesn't really make any kind of sense. And it's now getting so close to that date that I'm thinking like, hey, maybe I should just like continue up until this point. This way I'm committing to something. This way I have a set deadline, instead of going off by an emotional state or an impulsive decision, because we all know this, right? Sometimes we are in a diet, and if we don't have a set deadline or have a set goal, it can easily be that on that specific day, we don't really feel that we want to continue, and then we make the decision of like, no, I shouldn't really be dieting anyway. And then we make the final decision, or not the final decision, but then we make the decision of not wanting to diet. And then the next day you feel fine again because you just had a refeed, and consider going back into the deficit again, right? And this is something that I just want to avoid. And I want to be, committed to something, which is just the person that I normally am. Just do something or come up with a decision and just stick with it, because I'm just dealing better with that. And the same goes also for then the experiment about refeeds. ever since like the pizza that I had, I didn't really have any kind of other refeed, and that was kind of forced upon me due to then Katie wanting to have pizza as well. So
that was last week. You had the pizza, was it?
Yeah.
How was it?
It was good. No, it was good. Yeah. It's a great pizza. But at the same time, I'm just having such a hard time desiring something like refeeds, because that's just not the person that I am. I strive off of monotony and a typical routine much more so than having that fluctuation. It's just, I know that other people, they very much enjoy something like refeeds, but for me, I can't, this is just not me. But it's the same with all of the other aspects in life. It doesn't just have to be with refeeds, but it has to just like a break in routine and a break in structure that I can't deal with. This is just, once again, the person that I am.
Yeah, it might have to be that you start a diet with them versus interjecting them. And that might then allow it to be
always
routine.
have it on the same day instead of like whenever I need it, or I don't know, having more like a flexible approach. I think that I need a clear structure, a clear rule set, clear limitations, and then it probably works out. But if it's just like, I take a refeed whenever I feel like it, or whenever it suits me, suits my lifestyle, doesn't work for me at all.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I like the structure and routine. It's like having, like, some people are very flexible with their training, where they're just like push a rest day back or bring a session forward. And I've always just found like I like knowing what I'm doing Monday through Sunday, and I do that every week. So it just suits me as a person better.
Yeah, compared to something like walking, for example. I always have my steps. I always get my steps in, no matter whether I'm in a gaining phase, no matter whether I'm in a cutting phase, because this is part of my routine. I get up in the morning, get my espresso, get my shake, and then I go on my treadmill. And this is something that I've been doing since years. Since I was getting that treadmill, it is part of my process. There is no day that goes by where I'm not getting in an early morning walk. And I do it everywhere. Whether I'm on holiday, right? I get up in the morning and I go out on a walk. And sometimes it's not the nicest thing to be doing because I'm getting up very early in the morning, and at home with your treadmill, you're still in a warm environment and all that kind of stuff, right? I do remember the time in Mallorca, Steve, because we were kind of in the mountains. And it was always a very intense hike to go out on a walk. It wasn't just like a normal straight street. It was just like climbing up the mountains and down again. And it was very exhausting. It wasn't like a normal kind of walk. But I needed that. I needed that for myself just because I am that person. And some people take a look at this and see this as very much obsessive behavior. And maybe it is to some extent, but I'm not doing it because I think that if I don't do this, then something bad will happen. It's just because I strive off of routine so much. Yeah.
I think there's that point of, there's some things on those sort of trips, or when you break your routine, if you can hold on to some elements, I think it can help the whole process work better. Like, you can enjoy it more. I think if you let go of all your positive like aspects of your routine that you enjoy, then you don't enjoy the trip or the holiday. But if you can hold on to some of them, the ones that make sense, the ones that like don't take away from the experience, I think that's a really, really positive thing. Whereas, if you let them all go, then the transition back's also horrible too.
For me, it's more, I don't know if it's also a psychological thing where it's just like, do you know Monk? I think that I've brought him up in the past. It's kind of like a TV show from the past, a genius detective, but he had some neurotic tendencies and he couldn't help it, right? He needed to then touch certain things in a certain sequence. Now it's not that bad, but for me, it's very similar to this. I just need to do that sequence in order to then feel good, you know? So it may feel, or it may sound very weird to some of the listeners. Some listeners may not be able to understand this at all and see that this is a big problem for them, or would be a big problem for them. But for me, it is kind of a normal thing, normal behavior, and kind of essential for me to function well.
So we know you're dieting till your Katie's birthday.
Yes.
What's the plan after the birthday? What are you planning to do?
First and foremost, increase the calories, right?
Gaining, maintaining?
No, maintaining probably. I'm done with those cyclical phases of gaining and cutting intentionally, of pushing my body weight up. I'm at a point, Steve, and I've said it in the past, where I just want to look good and feel good for a year round most of the time. And of course, my body weight is trending up ever so slightly, right? But we're speaking about something where it's a difference of 0.05 or 0.1% of a body weight gain per week. By that, you're then in a quotation mark surplus for like 9 months to a year, 1.5 years, and then all you need to do is kind of a mini cut, and then you're back to your starting point. And this is something that works much, much better for me by now. I don't need to be the biggest anymore, like the biggest version of myself. I don't need to push the envelope. I have nothing there, or there's nothing for me to gain there anymore. And I just want to, or the priorities have shifted so much that I just want to be someone who just looks good, feels good, and also looks, for me personally, looks muscular year round, instead of just sometimes where it's that typical natty look. If I were to take off my shirt, people would see, yeah, okay, you're training, but there's nothing really there, right? And that is something that I don't really like anymore. I would love to be able to take off my shirt. Theoretically speaking, I just said to one of my athletes, that never really happens. I'm someone who never really takes off the shirt in public. But theoretically speaking, just knowing that for myself, I could take off my shirt and I know, like, all right, here I am. Instead of like, here I am.
I think that's probably the vast majority of maybe listeners, but certainly people in the world, their goal is to just feel confident taking off their shirt.
Yeah.
And I think probably when you first started gaining things, I don't know actually, but that probably was always for you, like the goal was to feel confident in your own body and skin, because I know for the longest time you weren't feeling that way. So I think that's awesome that you're essentially at that point now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that was the original plan. And then my competitiveness, or just also there, my personality and the nature came in, where I just needed something that to compare myself to others, measure myself against others. It's just something that I always liked in the past. Not so much anymore. Maybe it has something to do with age, because I don't really give a fuck anymore what other people think about me, to be honest. Unless it's the people that I do care about, and I do care about their opinion about me in certain areas, not in every area. So,
what is it? Those that matter don't mind, and those that mind don't matter. That's the quote from like Dr. Seuss. I don't know why I remember that.
I've never heard that, but yeah, no, that is definitely the case. If someone were to say to me like, hey, you look like shit, yeah, so be it. I don't know you, and you're not having any kind of place in my life. Before you didn't, and now you're not having either. So it's only a blip in the sea of my lifespan, so to speak.
I think you get to the point where you're just experienced enough to know who you are, what you've done.
Yeah.
That you like, it's your confidence is in that position where, and your self-worth is not determined by others. And I think that's a great, I've definitely got closer to that point too. And it's really nice. And it makes me think of, don't know why this comparison has come in, but I'm very surprised on the feedback from the podcast with Mike, with Matt Ogus, because very positive overall, of course, real positive. But the number of comments that have been trying to besmirch him and like take him down and say, look, he's not natty, I don't know, bringing up things in his past. I'm just like, this is pathetic, guys.
Funny enough, Steve, because I actually wanted to talk about this here on the Improvement Season podcast. Because I experienced the same thing, and I was contemplating and getting back to all of the negative comments, because most of those comments were just brainless, utter garbage. Like, especially the accusations of like, he's never natty, right? Also the aggressiveness and the way that they've already phrased it, just like by typing things out. I was just baffled of like, how can you put so much weight into what someone else has been doing maybe, or is doing, right? And then you don't even have anything to stand on. You don't have any kind of facts. You don't have any kind of proofs, right? It's just your beliefs. And I was just baffled of the stupidity of so many people who commented there.
I'm planning to get back. I just haven't had the time to kind of, get to that. But it's the same. I was going to go back and just be like give them perspective. And it's crazy though, because we literally talked about it on the podcast as well. And how Matt was just like, he quite literally said, and maybe some people took offense to that, but it was like, people who are like that, there's something up on their end. Like, are you okay? Like, what's up? Like, because this is weird behavior to be this aggressive and that sort of thing. And unfortunately, I think it's often people with really limited experience who have been in the gym a year or two and thought they would look like Matt Ogus at this point and don't. And so are like, this doesn't make sense. He's clearly on gear, not knowing that he's been in the gym for like a decade or whatever. And then two, people who did that and then went on gear and still didn't look the part because they didn't really know how to do the training, nutrition, the stuff that actually is fundamental to muscle growth. And so you get this quite big group of just upset individuals who then shout at every person that if they're above average for natural bodybuilding, they're now a fake natty.
Yeah, but that's unfortunately a very common phenomenon amongst all of the fields, especially the more complex fields. And this opens up then a lot of conspiracy theories and also misinterpretation of certain facts and all that kind of stuff. Because as we know, nothing is really black and white. There are very few things that are black and white. But people always want to see patterns. They always want to find an explanation. And some people don't have the mental capacity of really thinking in complex ways. And then something like this comes up, right? Have an easy answer of that suits them, that, I don't know, justifies then also their behavior and all that kind of stuff. There are many, many ways why people are acting that way. But the internet has made it, of course, very apparent and also worse how people can be vocal in a situation like this and also group themselves into being vocal. You know, those kind of bullies, Steve, back from the school, right? They were only strong whenever they were in a group. And now imagine having thousands of people confirming your beliefs. Yeah. What that does to the dynamic, and it's always easier to accusate someone instead of disprove something. That is also why something like fake news spreads so easily and so quickly, because it's so hard to disprove it, or it takes much more nuance and much more time to then disprove those fake news.
Yeah, it makes me think of like people are just trying to bring him down. And it also makes me think of, you talked about kind of the group coming together, somewhat similar to Andrew Huberman, when the bits of negative news came out about him, and then just everyone's just like, oh, Andrew Huberman, he's grown in popularity massively over these years. That makes me feel a bit bitter about myself or my situation, and man, I'd love to take him down. Oh, this has come out. So then everyone just groups up and goes against that person. And there's just so much context that's lacking with that. And what can that individual do? I was just listening to him on this is terrible, really. I was listening to him on the Diary of a CEO, because Stephen Bartlett is also a bit of he grinds my gears because he's done some like not so great stuff with nutrition and the people he's had on his podcast. But still, I'm not going to be that person that like writes on social media and is like, oh, you're an awful person, whatever. But Andrew was just saying how like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Like if he tried to provide context and give reasons and accept some of the kind of things that he did wrong, people are going to still come after him. So yeah, I think his response in the end was just to ignore it. Yeah. And I think that's probably what Matt does now. He just doesn't even get into those conversations because it goes nowhere. Fruitless.
It doesn't. You can't change their minds. It's not that you're going to respond and they are all of a sudden, oh, sorry. No, you're absolutely right. I was just like impulsively writing that comment. Take it back. Sorry for that. Sorry for my behavior. That's never going to happen. No matter how you approach it or from what angle you're going to approach it. All right. So in a situation like this, it's probably best to just ignore it and continue doing your thing. Because as long as you know that that is just, I don't know, maybe garbage that they are spouting, and it doesn't really negatively impact your life, so be it. Because I do also see, I don't know, we probably can think of certain examples of maybe fake news, false accusations that destroyed the reputation and the life of certain people. And that is something that is, of course, very much wrong.
It makes me think of people that get convicted and then they're like 10 years in prison, and then it gets found out, oh, they didn't actually do the crime.
Yeah, not just like that.
That's the extreme version.
Yeah,
right?
there are also certain cases, such as due to the Me Too movement, for example, that lots of females came out accusing certain people of having raped them, and then all of a sudden turned out that this was actually not true, and that was or has been shown and proven in court, for example, with certain documentation and all that kind of stuff. And those people, because it's a very sensitive topic, got so much hate from a certain vocal community then that their entire life was destroyed because of something like this, because people jumped on the bandwagon without even considering whether there is some truth to it or not. And that is very frightening, because everyone, if you really think about it, and if that were to happen to you, and those are false accusations, but people wouldn't really listen to you or give you even a fair chance, that is devastating. Devastating.
And then you get all the knock-on negative impacts of that too, where now it's like the boy who cried wolf. Like, oh, these people have accused this person of this. They didn't actually do it. Now anyone who now accuses someone of doing this, we believe them less because of those individuals. So they're not just ruining like that person's life, but they're potentially ruining a bunch of other people's lives. And I can't put myself in someone's head that works like that to do it. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's like someone competing in a natural show knowing that they're on gear or they're breaking the rules. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't put myself in a situation where that would make sense to me to do. But that's because, I don't know, I'm average and these people are like slightly different to average, or I don't know, their environment has pushed them into this sort of situation where they think that's a reasonable thing to do. You see it on game shows often, actually, with people on game shows where they do some really immoral, you'd consider it immoral. It's part of the game. It's not that bad that they're doing it, but you're like, that's not cool with me. Like, that's not part of the sportsmanship. That's not how I've been taught how to play these things. And then they get destroyed on social media for it, of course, as well. But yeah, their mind just works a little bit differently to the average person, I guess.
That's true. But just to bring it back to Matt there, I found it so inappropriate, some of the comments, because once again, the proof is on you. If you're making those accusations, where are you taking that from? Is it just because you have a feeling that he's not natty? What the fuck is wrong with you? You know, if you have those kind of, if you're bringing up those accusations, then at least have some data point to back your claims up. Otherwise, it's just like, I don't know, you're pulling something out of your ass and be like, today is the day I'm destroying the life of someone else with false accusations that I deem as right. What the fuck is this? Like, honestly, how old are you? 16, 14, 12? I don't know. But this is just wrong behavior in my personal opinion, and no cultural differences or anything alike, in my personal opinion, does justify behavior like this. If you have, like, facts and proof, yeah, all right, then present them in a proper manner, all right? We see it all the time. There are great YouTubers out there, or what is it called? The journalism that reveals certain scandals and all that kind of stuff. What's it called again, Steve?
I'm only thinking of Goob right now.
No, but like investigative journalism is what I'm talking about, right? That you are really collecting lots of data points. You are getting the confirmation that those data points or the facts are actually indeed correct and valid, and then you're presenting your case.
Yeah, it makes me think of, I've seen some documentaries on like celebrities, or like actually a great example, David Beckham. He was obviously a big figurehead. And then as soon as the newspapers go against someone like that, their lives get kind of destroyed. And so there's all these scandals that come out about them. So celebrities this is kind of celebrities on a smaller scale with Matt and this.
That's true.
The bigger you are in the industry, it's like Andrew Huberman. Again, he's kind of like a celebrity. The bigger you are in the industry, I guess the thicker skin you have to develop. And it's probably why it took Matt this long to decide he's willing to come on, because he's now developed that thick skin. He's got the confidence in who he is, that if these comments come in, he can deal with them now. Whereas I imagine that when he was younger and he was getting all of this shit, man, that would have been tough to deal with.
You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right.
It's it's sad, because I do think there's people I've invited on, I won't name names, but they're probably not in that position that Matt is right now, where they're happy to potentially get that backlash, which is just unfortunate that people will go that way just to make themselves feel better. I don't know.
Yeah. On that note, let's end the show here. What it is that you could be doing, guys, I don't know, because I saw that Matt was definitely in the comment section under his podcast saying that he very much enjoyed it and looking forward to the next time. Maybe leave some positive comments underneath the video instead of the negative comments that are taking over. I think, as cheesy as it may sound, like positive comments are hardly ever left unless it is very, very good. Like very good. So I don't know, this is also why I don't really give a lot about reviews anymore on, I don't know, restaurants or Amazon or so, because people have only terrible things to say or very positive things to say. And when it comes to positive things, sometimes those things are even faked nowadays. But people are just like never in the middle ground of like, yeah, this was a decent product, had some flaws, and that is my personal opinion. It's always like, man, this was shit. Something tore right after 2 days or whatever, you know? So
yeah,
positive comments would be highly appreciated.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. If you leave a positive comment, big thumbs up to you, and we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.
Muscle mass. Sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? It isn't though. It's reality, and we know how to do it, and we will help you achieve this. The Minicut Movement is an 8-week fat loss program to make you lose a huge chunk of fat while maintaining muscle mass at the same time. We will support you from the beginning to the end so that you see the results you would like to and come out of it much stronger. You'll receive a fully automated spreadsheet that is based on your nutritional needs. You can choose between 6 different male and female training templates. Over 30 videos will guide you through each and every single step of the Minicut so that you're getting the most out of your journey and that you always know what to do. But the best thing is that you can start whenever you want. The Minicut Movement is open 24/7. So if you want to learn more or you're ready to sign up, hit the link in the description below. So let's revive stronger together.